Hello, my name is Kamal and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss a lot of interesting topics. We will kick off our session with anonymous method. Um, Anonymous method is an inline nameless block of code that can be passed as a delegate parameter. Before anonymous methods, if you want to pass a small block of code to a delegate, you always had to create a method and then pass it to the delegate. With introduction to anonymous methods, you can pass an inline block of code to a delegate without actually creating a method. Let us see an examples in the code editor. Our example here is going to show us how to use the delegates with named methods and anonymous methods. I have already declared a delegate called test and a method called display with the same signature of the delegate, and I created a reference of the delegate object of the delegate that referencing the method display. Now the delegate t, the object of the delegate t is referencing the method display. If I executed or I invoked the delegate, it will just executing this method. So I will see the result. Okay, referencing a named method with a delegate. In the same manner, I can reference anonymous method with object of a delegate. So let's see this example. Now I want to add another method to the delegate, t plus equal and delegate. I use the delegate and then after that anonymous code. This is representing the anonymous method. This is representing the anonymous method, and if I executed the application, I will see that referencing anonymous method with a delegate. I can add another anonymous method. Okay, now my object of the delegate is referencing three methods: named method display and too many anonymous methods, referencing another anonymous method with delegate. Look, here is the first method, the second method, and the third method, but the difference is the second and the third method are uh, anonymous methods, unnamed methods. They are just a block of code and I can just use it with the delegate. I cannot call it in my code outside that delegate. This example will show us how to pass parameters to anonymous method. I have already created a calculation delegate which is receiving two arguments of type int. Then I will use the delegate to point to anonymous method which is receiving these two arguments. So calculation c equal delegate. If I left the definition like this, the compilation error will occur. Look at this. This is a compilation error. Calculation does not take zero argument. Calculation delegate must take two arguments. So I have to create these arguments on the definition of the anonymous method, integer x and int y. Then I will just print out the summation of the two parameters, console.writeLine x plus y. Okay, now I have finished the creation of the anonymous method that accepts two parameters of type int, and then I will invoke the delegate and I will pass parameters, executing the code, and this is the result. The result is 8. Simple. So anonymous method can return values, but in the declaration of the anonymous method we are not going to mention the return value explicitly. How? We are just mention it in the declaration of the delegate. So I will change this delegate to return int value. It accepts to int and return integer value. After the modification of the code of the delegate, there is a compilation error here, and the compilation error is that the anonymous method that we've already written must contain a return keyword. So to solve this problem, I will return an int value, return x plus y. This is it. This is the problem solved. This method, this anonymous method, is dumping x plus y to the console, and also return the value of x plus y. When I call it, look, when I call it int v equal c 2 and 6, and the result is going to be 8, and it is stored in v. So if I dump the value of v in the console, it will write the same results that we have seen here. So let's do it. Let's see the execution of the code. Here is execution. It just dumps the result 2 times. The first one is a console.writeLine inside the anonymous method, and the second after we invoking the delegate and retain the value in a v, and then dump it to the console. So to simplify the idea of creating delegates, .NET provided system-defined generic delegates that is make our life easy when we need to use a delegate. The first form of system-defined generic delegate is func of the result. This delegate is representing a method that receives no parameters but returns a result of type t result. The second form is representing a method that receives only one argument and returns a value of t result. And the third form is representing a method that receives 2 arguments of type t and returns a value of t result. Always the last template or the last placeholder is referring to the returned value. Let's see this in action. So now let's see how to use the generic delegates, system-defined generic delegates. I have a method called getNumber, which is receiving no arguments and retains a value of type integer. Okay, I want to use this method. I want to call this method using a delegate. So here I will use a generic delegate func. Our method is return value of integer and receives no argument. So I have to declare a generic delegate with the name rand, which is pointing to the method get number. Okay, and now I have created the delegate and pointed to the method. So if I invoked the delegate and dump the value of rand, okay, this is it. Let us execute. The value is 42, and if I execute it for a second time, the value is 17. and it's always generating a value in the range of 10 to 50. This is the first example of using system defined generic delegate. The second example is I have a method that is returning the square of a number method, which is returns a value of double and receives an argument of type double. So to use this method with a delegate, I have to write func double, which is a parameter that is going to be received, and double is the return type of the delegate, and I will call it sq equal the method square. And now console the trade line sq, and I will pass it a value of 5, which is going to dump 25. This is the result. Okay, this is it. Third example is a method that is receiving two arguments of type integer and return a value of integer. The method is add. So I will create another delegate which is receiving two arguments, int a return value of int. Call it a equal add. Then console the thread line a of 10 15. See the result. To see the result, okay, this is it. It is 25. So the system defined generic delegates are very useful in terms of decreasing the lines of code. Instead of creating a delegate to get a number and another delegate to get a square, another delegate to add a number, we've just used the system generic delegates directly to work with them. Okay, there is a delegate called action, which is receiving an argument, but it is not returning a value. Okay, action of int. It represents a method which is receiving two arguments of type int but returns nothing. So one of the most interesting topics that we will discuss today is a lambda expression. Lambda expression is an anonymous expression that can contain expressions and statements and enables to simplify development through inline coding. In simple terms, a lambda expression is an inline expression or statement block having a compact syntax and can be used wherever a delegate or anonymous method is expected. So to use lambda expressions, first I have to create a delegate int test of int a. Look, this delegate is representing a method that receives only one argument and returns an int value. After creating that delegate, we have to define or to declare an object of the delegate test t, which is going to point to a method. We do not have a method in our code, so we can write anonymous code. We can point to a named code if exists, or otherwise we can write a lambda expression as inline function. So our lambda expression is going to be started with the parameter list parameter list, which is x is only one parameter have to be passed to the delegate or to the method represented by the delegate, and then lambda operator. And what we are going to do is to return x times x, square of x, square of x. Now we finished the writing of our lambda expression. We are going to invoke the delegate with 6 value, or to dump the result to the console. Let's see this. Okay, the result is set 6. This kind of lambda expressions is called expression lambdas. Because it has a parameter on the left side, and has expression on the right side, and in between them is a lambda operator. So another example is to use system-defined generic delegates. Let's say a func of string, and say to upper case equal word, and return word to upper Okay, now we have a delegate which is representing a method that takes only one argument as a string and retains the value of a string, and the object of the delegate is called to uppercase, and then the represented method, which is a lambda expression. This is the parameter. The first parameter is the type of string, and on the right side the expression that we want to execute, which is converting the parameters that we receive to uppercase string. So to see this, we can dump it to the console, and we'll call to uppercase, and then we'll pass it a word. Okay, we will pass the word here, welcome to lambdas. We'll see the execution of the code. Okay, welcome to the lambdas is converted to uppercase. This example can be created using a named function. Okay, here is public static string, let's say to upper word, which is receiving string w, and then return w dot to upper. This method here is equivalent to the code here. If we compare it to the code of the method, it is very compact. Okay, so I will try to use the same method to convert a word to delegate. Look, to uppercase. So func of string to upper equal to upper word. Okay, and I will send the same message for tu delegate. We execute the code and we'll see the same result. Okay, I can use the named functions, or I can use the anonymous functions as a lambda expressions. As I told you, this example and the other example is called expression lambdas. Why we call it expression lambdas? Because it is just evaluating only one expression, a mathematical operation, or an operation to convert something to a value. Another example is to say this func of str, func of string returning a boolean value, which is evaluate equal. Let's say that we pass many parameters, str1, str2, and then we are going to evaluate them as str1 equal str2. This is it. Look, this is same. This is the method. This is a delegate, which is representing a method that receives two strings as argument and returns a value of boolean after evaluating these strings. If string 1 equal string 2, then return true, otherwise it returns false. So I will dump the result and I will call ev. I will send two strings a, b, c. This is the first string, and the second string is also abc, and the result must be true. The second call to this delegate abcd, one of them is dumping. Look, the first example is dumping true, and the second example is dumping false. As I told you, this kind of lambda expressions is called expression lambdas because they are just evaluating only one expression, like this: x times x word dot to upper, and str equal str1 equal str2. So the second type of lambda expression is statement lambdas. Let's see an example of statement lambdas. I will use system defined delegate, which is action of string. This delegate representing a method which is receiving an argument as a string and returns void. So action of string, let's call it AC equal the parameters that we are going to pass to statement lambda, and then the lambda operator, and then the code of the lambda expression. Here we will store the length of the string in n str dot length, and then we'll do a message saying cw the length of the string is, and then we will say n. This is it. This is all. Now we have created our lambda expression as a statement lambda. We call it statement lambda because it contains many statements, or it contains only one statement, but it resides in a block of code. So let's invoke the delegate by passing it a string. Welcome back. Execute the code, and the result is the length of the string is 12. So this is a statement lambda. The statement lambdas can retain values. It's okay. Let's say that we have a func of int, and then int, which is add equal. We have to pass two parameters, x and y, and then we will write the code of the lambdas. So here is cw you passed x and y, x and y. Their summation is going to be returned. Summation will return the summation of x and y, and then return x plus y. Okay, we finished our lambda statement lambda expression, which is receiving two parameters x and y, and then dumping two messages to the console and returning the summation of x plus y. To call this, I will add and then 5 and 7, and I will receive the value in an integer c equal following. We could write it cw c. Okay, if we execute the code, you passed 5 and 7. I will return the summation of x and y, and the result is 12. Okay, the parameters that we are passing to the lambda expression can be with explicit type or implicit type. By default, the compiler is going to infer the types based on the parameters of the delegate, but I can write the types integer int x and int y, no problem. You can use it like this, or you can rely it on the types that is declared in the delegate body. Okay. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.